The morning sun came gently through the windows, spilling golden light across Ravi's living room. He awoke with a calm feeling of anticipation. The previous 3 boxes had revealed letters, toys, a stone tablet, photographs, and sketches, all carefully preserved by Hari. Each discovery had brought him closer to understanding the life of a man who had poured so much patience, hope, and kindness into objects meant to survive time. Today, Ravi knew they would open the 4th box, and perhaps this box would reveal the most personal part of Hari's story. Amir arrived shortly after breakfast, holding a bottle of fresh juice and a small notebook to take notes. The 2 friends had begun documenting each box carefully. It was important to handle every item with care as the treasures were delicate and very old. Ravi smiled at Amir, sharing the quiet excitement that had grown stronger each day. Together, they went outside to the backyard and lifted another box from the bathtub. This box was medium-sized, slightly heavier than the others, but well-balanced. Its surface was polished and smooth. With a number written neatly on top, they carried the box back into the house and placed it on the table. Ravi took a deep breath and unclasped the lid. As the cover lifted, a faint scent of old wood and fabric filled the air. Inside, they found layers of carefully wrapped objects. The top layer contained more letters, but these letters were different from the first box. Each one had a drawing on the cover. Some drawings showed small gardens, others showed miniature houses, and some even showed wooden toys in playful arrangements. The letters were tied together with soft ribbons, colored in pale shades that had not completely faded with time. Ravi untied the first bundle and opened the top letter. It began with gentle words of thought, explaining how Hari had hoped to build a world filled with joy and learning. He wrote about his love for creativity, how he wanted to craft things that would make children laugh and adults smile. The letter also mentioned his dreams for a family. Hari had imagined mornings filled with laughter, evenings spent reading or crafting together, and quiet nights where simple happiness filled every corner of his home. Ravi felt warmth in his chest as he read the words. It was as if Hari had written directly to him, sharing a part of himself that had waited silently for decades. Amir reached over and lifted another letter. He opened it and saw sketches inside. The sketches were detailed, showing toys, small furniture, and even imagined gardens. Each drawing had notes in the margins. Hari had written instructions for building the toys, planting the trees, and arranging the garden paths. The sketches were full of life. Amir said that they were not just drawings. They were guides for creating joy, a roadmap for peaceful and meaningful living. Ravi carefully put down the first letter and picked up a small, carved figure hidden underneath the papers. It was a tiny wooden child, sitting on a bench, smiling. The figure was delicate, with smooth edges and a gentle expression. Ravi held it in his hand and felt the care Hari had put into every curve. It was more than a toy. It was a symbol of hope. He placed it beside the letters, imagining it sitting in a garden filled with life and light. Underneath the carved figure, they found another small pouch. This one contained tiny wooden animals, each with its own personality. A rabbit with long ears, a cat with soft curves, and a tiny dog with a wagging tail. Ravi picked up the rabbit and felt its smooth surface. The craftsmanship was extraordinary. It was clear that Hari had spent many hours perfecting each piece, not for himself, but for someone he had hoped would one day enjoy them. Amir smiled, noticing Ravi's attention to detail. He said quietly that the care Hari had taken was more meaningful than anything money could buy. The letters, sketches, and figures in this box revealed a side of Hari that was deeply personal. Ravi and Amir realized that Hari had not just wanted to preserve objects. He had wanted to preserve feelings, dreams, and a vision for a gentle life. Every toy, every sketch, every letter was part of a larger message about kindness, patience, and imagination. Ravi felt that Hari's spirit was present in the room, silent but comforting, guiding them through his life. At the bottom of the box, he found a small wooden board with a short story carved into it. The story was simple, about a man who loved to build toys and gardens, and about his hope to see children play and families smile. Ravi read the carved words slowly. Each line carried a sense of care and thoughtfulness. The story was not just a tale. It was a message about life, creativity, and the importance of leaving goodness behind. Amir looked at Ravi, and they both felt the quiet power of these words. It was not a message of wealth, fame, or success, but of living with purpose and joy. Ravi carefully closed the fourth box after making sure everything was safely in place. He felt that Hari had left them a treasure more valuable than gold. It was a treasure of the heart, a way to understand what truly mattered to someone who had lived long ago. Amir suggested they take a short break before opening the next box. Both agreed, feeling that this day was already special and that each discovery deserved time to be appreciated. After resting, Ravi and Amir returned to the table. The fifth box awaited, slightly smaller but heavier than some of the previous ones. It had a number written in the same elegant style. The lid was sealed with care. Ravi opened it slowly. Inside, they found a collection of handcrafted items unlike any they had seen before. The first item was a miniature wooden library. Tiny books with carved covers sat neatly on shelves. Each book had a title etched into the wood. Ravi carefully picked one up and saw that the pages contained carved words describing small stories, each full of life lessons. Another item in the box was a tiny wooden clock. Its hands were carved to show a specific time. Ravi noticed that the time seemed symbolic, perhaps representing a moment Hari wanted to preserve. The box also contained small wooden furniture, carved chairs, benches, and tables. Each piece was made with skill and love. As if Hari wanted to recreate a world of warmth and beauty, Amir picked up a carved wooden bridge. The bridge had tiny details, showing steps, rails, and a gentle curve. It looked like it belonged in a small garden or park. Amir said quietly that it must have taken Hari countless hours to make all these objects. Ravi agreed. The dedication and patience were remarkable. They could not imagine the focus and love required to make something so detailed without any need for recognition. Among the carved pieces, they discovered another letter. This one explained why Hari had buried everything in the bathtub. He wrote that he had created these objects with love and hope, but he could not have a family of his own. He wanted the creations to survive, to bring joy to someone in the future. He wrote that he hoped whoever found them would understand the care behind each piece and feel inspired to continue spreading kindness and happiness. Ravi read the letter slowly, feeling the emotions behind each word. He realized that Hari's decision to hide these treasures had not been out of secrecy, but out of hope. He wanted the world to see his efforts when the time was right. Ravi and Amir took turns examining every object in the box. The level of detail amazed them. Each item was more than just wood. It was a piece of imagination, a fragment of Hari's heart, and a symbol of creativity. Ravi felt deeply moved. He whispered that he wanted to preserve these objects to make sure Hari's vision was respected. Amir nodded. Both understood that the discovery was no longer just about curiosity. It had become a responsibility. As the sun moved across the sky, Ravi looked out the window at the backyard. The bathtub still sat in the corner, now partially empty, holding a few remaining boxes. It was strange to think that everything had been hidden there for decades, waiting to be discovered. The concrete that had once sealed it now seemed like a guardian, protecting a story of hope, patience, and creativity. Ravi thought about the life Hari must have led. A man who spent hours crafting letters, toys, sketches, and carved objects. A man who loved quietly and deeply, hoping that the future would recognize his effort. Ravi felt inspired. He realized that life was not just about wealth or recognition, but about leaving something meaningful behind, even in small ways. Hari's story reminded him that creativity and kindness could survive time. Touching hearts decades later, by late afternoon, Ravi and Amir had carefully packed everything from the fourth and fifth boxes on a soft cloth on the table. They decided to store the items safely until they could continue with the remaining boxes. Each box was like a chapter of Hari's life, revealing his heart, his dreams, and his gentle nature. Before leaving, Ravi walked to the backyard and looked down at the bathtub. He felt a quiet sense of gratitude. This strange and unexpected discovery had brought him closer to understanding a life full of care, imagination, and hope. He knew that opening the remaining boxes would complete Hari's story. But even now, he felt that he had learned something important. The smallest acts of patience, creativity, and kindness could create a legacy that survived long after a person was gone. As the evening settled, Ravi and Amir cleaned the room carefully. They turned off the lights, leaving the boxes safely arranged. Ravi sat quietly for a moment, holding one of Hari's carved pieces. The gentle curves of the wood felt alive in his hands. Ravi carried the wooden box into the house with slow and careful steps. The box felt old, but strong in his hands. Amir followed him inside, closing the door gently behind them so the dust from outside would not enter. The room was quiet. Sunlight came through the window and created a warm glow across the table. Ravi placed the box on the wooden surface and looked at it for a moment, without touching it further. The excitement inside him was growing, but he tried to stay calm. Everything about the discovery felt unusual. A buried bathtub inside concrete, a sealed lid, and rows of wooden boxes inside. It was not something that happened in everyday life. Amir stood beside him, crossing his arms, trying to guess what they might find. The box had a simple design with no lock on it, only a small metal clasp that held the lid in place. The number written on the top was clear and bold. As if someone had taken great care while writing it, Ravi ran his fingers along the edges of the box. The wood was smooth, and he could feel the work that went into shaping it. Whoever made it wanted it to last. He looked at Amir for a moment. Amir nodded in encouragement. It was time to open it. Ravi lifted the metal clasp slowly. It clicked softly. Then he placed both hands on the lid and raised it. The lid opened smoothly without resistance. Inside the box, Ravi saw something that neither he nor Amir had expected. The entire box was filled with old letters. Each letter was neatly folded and tied with a single ribbon. The ribbon was slightly faded but still strong enough to hold the letters together. Ravi picked up the first bunch and placed it gently on the table. He untied the ribbon and opened the top letter. The paper was old, but well preserved. The handwriting on it was elegant and steady. The first line read, "My name is Hari, and these are my thoughts for the future." Ravi felt the words settle inside him like a soft echo. He continued reading slowly, trying not to damage the delicate paper. The letter was not addressed to anyone. Instead, it felt like Hari was writing to the world, or maybe to someone he hoped would find his words one day. The letter spoke about simple dreams. Hari wrote about wanting to create things that brought joy. He mentioned how he loved working with his hands, carving pieces of wood, shaping toys, and crafting small objects that made people smile. He wrote about mornings spent in quiet thinking and evenings spent planning new ideas. There was no sadness in the letter, only warmth and hope. As Ravi read, he felt as if a gentle voice from the past was speaking directly to him. Amir read over his shoulder and felt the same sense of peace. The letter had a softness that touched the heart. It was rare to find something so sincere and thoughtful. Ravi placed the letter aside carefully and opened another one. It was written in the same style. This one spoke about the house. Hari wrote that he built it with great care, imagining a future full of love and laughter. He wanted it to be a place where stories grew, where mornings felt light, and where friendships could bloom. He wrote about planting dreams in every corner of the home. Ravi looked around his own house as he read this line. It felt different now. It felt like the house carried a secret spirit in its walls. After reading a few more letters, Ravi placed them back gently. Amir reached into the box and lifted a small cloth pouch that had been tucked into the corner under the letters. The pouch was tied with a thin rope. When Ravi opened it, he found a tiny wooden carving inside. It was a small bird, smooth and polished. Every detail was crafted with precision. The wings, the beak, the tiny feet, everything looked perfect. It was a piece of art made with patience and care. Ravi admired it for a long moment before placing it safely on the table. They checked the box further and found 2 more pouches, each holding a small wooden figure. One was a tiny house with a curved roof. The other was a tiny boat with small engraved lines on its surface. Each carving was beautiful and delicate. Ravi realized that the person who placed these in the box was someone who loved creativity and peace. After looking through everything in the box, Ravi closed the lid gently and sat back on his chair. The room felt quiet as both men tried to understand the meaning behind the discovery. The letters were not the kind that held secrets or warnings. They were filled with gentle thoughts, simple dreams, and a kind of kindness that felt rare. Amir was the first to speak. He said that maybe the boxes were a time capsule. Maybe Hari wanted someone in the future to find them. Ravi agreed. The idea made sense. People sometimes buried things they wished to preserve. But this was different. It was not just one box. There were many, and each one seemed carefully arranged. That meant Hari had a purpose. After a short pause, Ravi stood up and said that they should bring another box inside. The first one had already surprised them. Who knew what the others would contain? Amir agreed and walked outside with him. Together they carried another box from the bathtub and placed it on the table beside the first one. The number on it was slightly different. The wood looked just as old, and the box was also tied with a metal clasp. Ravi took a deep breath before opening the second box. The room felt full of anticipation. He unclasped the lid and lifted it. Inside, they saw something entirely different from the letters. This box was filled with wooden toys. Each toy was shaped with great care. Some were animals, some were small trees, and some were tiny bicycles, carved with little spokes. There were also small figures of people with simple expressions on their faces. Ravi picked up a wooden horse. It was carved so beautifully that it almost looked alive. The tail had curved lines, the legs were shaped smoothly, and the head had a gentle curve that made it look calm. Amir picked up a wooden tree. It had tiny branches carved into it with perfect detail. Both men admired the craftsmanship. It felt like Hari had spent years perfecting his art. There was something warm in the idea that someone had taken so much time to create toys. Toys were meant to bring joy. Ravi imagined a child holding the wooden horse, running around happily and making up stories. The thought made him smile. He wondered if Hari wanted these toys to be played with someday. Inside the box, there was also a small piece of paper. Ravi unfolded it. It was a short note. The note said that Hari made these toys during nights when he felt peaceful. It said that he dreamt of laughter filling the house and toys scattered on the floor. He wanted these pieces to carry a part of his heart. Ravi felt the meaning strongly. It was as if Hari wished to leave love behind, even if he never saw the future he imagined. Ravi placed the note back with the toys. The box felt precious. He knew he had to handle everything carefully. Amir said that maybe each box held a different part of Hari's life. Ravi nodded. It made sense. The first box held letters, thoughts, and messages from his mind. The second held toys made with his hands. What would the other boxes contain? The evening sun had begun to lower when Ravi looked outside. They had spent hours exploring only 2 boxes, yet it felt like they had entered a different world. The backyard mystery was far larger than they expected. Ravi decided they should stop for the day and continue the next morning. His mind was full of questions. He wondered why Hari had chosen to hide these things. Why place them in a bathtub? Why seal it with concrete? Why bury it in the backyard of this house? Why not leave them somewhere visible? Mir placed a hand on his shoulder and said that maybe the answers were inside the remaining boxes. Maybe the story was waiting to be revealed one piece at a time. Ravi agreed. He felt both excited and thoughtful. They placed the boxes neatly on a shelf for safekeeping. Ravi locked the windows and turned off the lights. The house felt different now. It carried a soft whisper of the past, a presence that felt gentle and welcoming. As Ravi lay in bed that night, he thought about the letters, the toys, the carvings, and the name Hari, written so carefully. He wondered what kind of life Hari had lived and what secrets the rest of the boxes would reveal. And with that thought, he drifted into sleep, unaware that the next box he opened would change everything he understood about the house and the man who once lived there. The next morning arrived with a soft golden light spreading across the sky. Ravi woke up earlier than usual. His mind was still full of thoughts from the previous day. The discovery of the buried bathtub, The letters from Hari and the wooden toys had left him in a world of wonder. He felt as if he had stepped into someone else's memories. He stretched, washed his face, and went to the kitchen to make tea. As the warm scent rose from the cup, he looked around his quiet house and felt a pull toward the boxes waiting on the shelf. Amir sent a message saying he would come after breakfast. Ravi nodded to himself and sat down to drink his tea slowly. The morning air felt peaceful, yet filled with anticipation. He knew today they would open more boxes and uncover more pieces of Hari's story. There was still so much to learn about the man who had created such beautiful things and hidden them underground. After finishing his tea, Ravi went to the shelf where the boxes rested. He touched the surface of the first 2 boxes gently. The letters and the toys felt like treasures, not because they were expensive, but because they carried heart and patience. He whispered to himself that he felt honored to have found them. A little later, there was a knock on the door. Amir stepped in with a smile and 2 cups of fresh juice. He said they both needed energy for the long day ahead. Ravi accepted the cup and laughed softly. It felt good to have a friend share this strange but beautiful journey. They sat down and looked at the bathtub outside through the window. The bright sunlight fell on the metal surface, making it look almost like a silent guardian of secrets. Amir said that today they should open 2 boxes instead of 1, since the story was getting more and more interesting. Ravi agreed. He hoped the next box would continue the gentle, peaceful feeling that the first 2 had given him. They went outside and carefully took the next box from the bathtub. This one was slightly larger than the others and heavier too. The number on top was written the same way, with smooth strokes of ink. They brought it inside and placed it on the table. Ravi took a moment before opening it. He wondered what was inside. More letters, more toys, something else completely. The unknown was exciting. Amir leaned forward with interest while Ravi unclasped the lid and lifted it. Inside the box was a thick layer of fabric covering something. The cloth was clean and soft, almost like a blanket. Ravi folded it back slowly. Beneath the cloth was a single object, heavy and smooth. A stone tablet lay inside, shaped neatly into a rectangle. The surface had carvings etched into it with perfect precision. Ravi lifted the tablet carefully and placed it in the center of the table. It was beautiful in a quiet and ancient way. The carvings looked like words. They were not written with ink. Instead, they were engraved deep into the stone with a steady hand. Ravi traced the lines lightly with his fingers. The stone was cool to the touch, and the markings were clear. Amir leaned closer and suggested they read it from the top. Ravi nodded and began reading the message carved on the stone. It said that Hari built the house with dreams of creating a warm place filled with joyful moments. The message described how he wanted to fill the home with laughter, how he hoped to build a family of his own, and how he wished to leave behind something meaningful. He wrote about the comfort he found in carving toys and writing letters. The stone carried words of hope rather than sadness. As Ravi continued reading, he reached a part that felt deeper. The message said that Hari made these boxes to preserve the things he loved most. He wanted the future to remember the gentle parts of his life. He wrote that he believed kindness could travel through time if preserved with care. He hoped that the person who discovered the boxes would feel comfort, not confusion or fear. Ravi looked up at Amir with soft eyes. He felt moved by the careful carving and the thoughtful words. Hari had not written with a desire to impress anyone. His message felt calm and honest, like a simple truth from the heart. Amir said that Hari must have been a man who believed strongly in patience and love. The pieces he created showed that he valued peaceful moments and small joys more than anything else. Ravi agreed. He felt as if he could picture Hari sitting in a room of his house many years ago. Carving the stone with care and thinking about the future, Ravi placed the stone tablet back into the box gently. As he did, he noticed a small folded paper tucked in the corner under the cloth. He picked it up and opened it. It was a short note written in the same elegant handwriting as the letters from the first box. The note said that the stone was not meant to be grand. It was written because Hari believed that stories survive when they are held inside something strong. He wanted his thoughts to stay safe, even if time washed away everything else. Ravi took a deep breath. Every part of Hari's creation felt meaningful. It made his own home feel richer. He could sense the care and devotion in every detail. After closing the third box, Ravi felt a feeling of respect grow inside him. Amir suggested they take a short rest before opening the next box. They sat on the porch, sipping cool water, and talked about the message on the tablet. They both wondered how many more surprises were waiting in the bathtub. It felt like opening a long, forgotten chapter of someone's life. After resting for a few minutes, they returned inside and brought the fourth box in. This one was a medium-sized box and lighter than the third one. Ravi set it on the table and opened the clasp. The lid lifted smoothly. Inside, they found old photographs arranged neatly in rows, all held in place by a thin wooden frame. The images were black and white. Some photos were of a young man working with tools in a workshop. Others were pictures of the house during its early days of construction. Ravi carefully lifted one photo. It showed the house with only half the walls built and tools scattered around. Another photo showed the young man carving a wooden toy while sitting near a window with sunlight falling across his face. Ravi and Amir looked at each picture with great interest. The photos made Hari feel real, not just a name written on letters in stone. The images captured peaceful moments. There were no signs of worry or fear in any of them. Instead, there was a quiet joy in the man's eyes. He looked content doing the things he loved. Amir said the photos felt like a window into a past filled with simple happiness. At the bottom of the box, there was a small notebook. The cover was worn but still strong. Ravi opened it carefully. Inside were sketches made with soft pencil strokes. The sketches showed toys, houses, trees, the bathtub itself, and even a rough map of the backyard. The drawings were not perfect, but they were warm and full of personality. It felt like Hari had drawn them while planning what to create and where to place the bathtub. One sketch caught Ravi's attention. It showed the bathtub half buried in the ground. A small note beside the drawing said that the bathtub was chosen because it was strong enough to protect everything. It would hold the boxes safely for years until someone would find them. Another sketch showed a small family standing near the house. Ravi felt something gentle in Hari's imagination. It was like a dream he wished to see come true. He held the notebook carefully as if it were something fragile. For a long moment, both men stayed silent, taking in the meaning behind every picture and sketch. Finally, Ravi closed the notebook and placed it back inside the box. He felt a strange mix of emotions. He felt happy to have discovered all these things, but he also felt the weight of Hari's dreams. They were beautiful dreams, filled with love and creativity. As the day went on, the sunlight slowly moved across the room. The boxers now sat on the table like precious memories. Ravi felt that he was learning more about Hari than he ever expected. Each box revealed a different part of his life, and it all fit together like a gentle story whispered across time. Ravi looked at Amir and said softly that he felt like he owed it to Hari to understand the whole story. Amir agreed. They both knew that the next box might reveal something even more important. The story was not complete yet. Ravi placed his hands on the edge of the table and took a deep breath. Tomorrow, they would open the next box. Tomorrow, they would continue the journey into the peaceful world that Hari left behind. Ravi had lived in his small house for 2 years, but he never paid much attention to the backyard. The front of the house was neat and looked welcoming. The backyard, however, was a forgotten space with tall grass, uneven soil, scattered bricks, old garden pots, and dry leaves that collected in every corner. When he first moved in, he had told himself that he would fix it soon, but days turned into weeks, and weeks turned into months. Life kept him so busy with work and daily routines that the backyard stayed the same. But on one warm and quiet afternoon, something changed his plan. Ravi woke up early that morning with a calm feeling. The sun was shining through his window, and a gentle breeze moved the curtains like soft waves. He felt that it was a good day to do something productive. After breakfast, he stepped outside to the backyard with a cup of tea in his hand. He looked around and finally decided it was time to clean the space and make it look better. He imagined planting flowers near the fence, placing a small table near the shade for morning tea, and maybe creating a small path made of stones. These ideas made him smile. He placed his cup on a wooden crate and picked up a shovel. He started by removing the bricks that were piled in one corner. Some of them were cracked and covered with dust. He stacked them neatly against the wall in case they could be used later. Then he cleared dry leaves and pulled out weeds that had grown around the edges. His shirt became damp with sweat, and his arms felt tired, but he enjoyed the work. It felt peaceful. After a while, he noticed a weird, uneven patch on the ground near the center of the yard. It looked different from the rest of the soil. The color was slightly lighter, and the ground felt harder. Ravi pressed his foot on it and heard a faint, hollow sound. That sound made him pause. He crouched and pressed the ground with his hand. It felt solid, almost like something flat was buried under it. Curiosity filled his mind. He dug around the area using the shovel. At first the soil came out easily, but soon the shovel hit something firm. The sound was sharp and metallic. Ravi became more interested and brushed the soil with his hands. Slowly, a curved edge appeared. It was made of metal and seemed old. He cleared more dirt until he could see it clearly. It looked like a part of a bathtub. The edge had scratches and rust, but the shape was unmistakable. Ravi stopped for a moment. Why would a bathtub be buried in the backyard? This question repeated in his mind. He stood up, wiped his forehead, and took a deep breath. The discovery was surprising and strange. He had never heard of anyone burying a bathtub underground. For a moment, he wondered if he should leave it alone. But his curiosity was too strong. He took his phone and called his close friend, Amir. Amir lived only 10 minutes away and always helped whenever Ravi needed support. When Ravi explained what he found, Amir laughed at first, thinking it was a joke. But after hearing the serious tone in Ravi's voice, he agreed to come immediately. Ravi waited while walking around the buried object. The more he looked, the more questions came to him. Was it placed there by the previous owner of the house? Was it used to hide something valuable? Was it just an old broken tub someone wanted to dispose of? He tried to guess, but none of the ideas felt right. Amir arrived soon, holding a toolbox. He was surprised to see the half-uncovered bathtub. He knelt down and knocked on the metal surface with his knuckles. The tub gave a deep sound, which meant it was thick and strong. Amir looked up at Ravi with wide eyes. The expression on his face said that he was just as curious. Together they began to clear the soil around it completely. It took time because the tub seemed large and deeply set in the ground. They removed layer after layer of dirt, and soon they discovered that the tub was not just placed in soil. It was surrounded by a layer of concrete. The concrete was cracked in some places, but still very solid. This surprised both of them even more. Amir said that normal people do not bury a bathtub inside concrete unless they want it to stay hidden for a long time. That idea made the air feel heavy. They both sat on the grass for a short rest. Ravi drank water and tried to understand the situation. He felt no fear, only curiosity. It felt like he had found a puzzle waiting to be solved. After a short break, they started breaking the thin concrete carefully using small metal tools. They worked slowly to avoid damaging whatever was inside the tub. Every hit created small dust clouds. As the concrete broke apart piece by piece, Ravi felt his excitement grow. He wanted to know what was inside. He wondered if it was empty or filled with something. Maybe it held old belongings from someone who lived in the house long ago. After almost an hour of hard work, they managed to free the upper part of the tub from the concrete. The lid of the bathtub was now visible. It was a metal lid, heavier than a normal bathtub cover. It was sealed tightly with a thick rubber layer around the edges. The metal surface had stains and slight rust marks. Ravi touched it gently. It felt cold even under the warm sunlight. Amir looked closely at the seal and said that it was done very carefully. It looked like someone wanted to protect whatever was inside from water, insects, or air. This made the mystery even deeper. They both wondered what kind of person would seal a bathtub like this and bury it underground. Ravi felt his heart beating a little faster. The discovery felt almost unreal. It was not something a person found during a normal day of backyard cleaning. It felt like a hidden story was waiting under the lid. He thought about whether they should open it right away or wait until they had better tools. But Amir encouraged him to continue. They had come so far, and stopping now would only fill the night with restless thoughts. They inspected the edges of the lid. It was held tightly by small bolts that were still strong. Amir opened his toolbox and took out a wrench. Together they worked on loosening the bolts, one by one. Some opened easily, others took more effort. Each bolt removed felt like a small step closer to uncovering the truth as they loosened the last bolt. Ravi felt a rush of excitement mixed with uncertainty. He placed both hands on the lid and gently tried to lift it. It did not move. They tried again, using more force. Finally, the lid shifted slightly, making a soft scraping sound. With a final pull, the lid lifted enough to release a faint smell of dust and old air. It was not unpleasant, only a sign that the tub had been sealed for many years. They placed the lid aside carefully. Ravi leaned forward and looked inside. His eyes widened. The inside of the bathtub was filled, but not with dirt or random trash. Instead, he saw wooden boxes arranged in neat rows. The boxes were different sizes, but all had the same simple shape. Each one had a number written on the top with black ink. The numbers were written neatly in a style Ravi had never seen before, almost like handwriting from another time. The wood of the boxes looked aged but not damaged. It seemed they were protected well by the sealed environment. Ravi reached inside and touched one of the boxes. It was surprisingly light. He lifted it gently and placed it on the grass. Amir watched silently, trying to understand the meaning of this discovery. Ravi looked inside the tub again. There were many boxes, maybe 20 or more. All of them carefully arranged. Someone had planned this with great patience. Ravi felt that each box held a part of a story waiting to be opened. He sat on the ground next to the first box he had taken out. The box had a smooth surface with small scratches from time. The number on it was clear. Ravi ran his finger over the number. The idea of opening the box made his mind race with possibilities. Was it full of letters? Was it filled with coins or old objects? Was it something personal from someone long gone? Amir encouraged him to open it inside the house. The backyard was dusty, and the box deserved careful handling. Ravi agreed and picked it up gently. As he held it, he felt a strange warmth in his heart. The box felt like a connection to someone's past, someone who had taken time to do this, someone with a reason unknown to both of them. He walked slowly toward the house, carrying the box with respect. He did not know what he would find, but he knew this was only the beginning of a much bigger story. The morning sun shone softly across Ravi's living room. Today was special. After days of discovering the hidden treasures in the buried bathtub, only one box remained. Ravi felt a mixture of excitement and curiosity. The first 4 boxes had revealed letters, wooden toys, sketches, photographs, and a carved stone tablet. Each box told a part of Hari's life, his dreams, and his love for creativity. Ravi wondered what the final box would reveal. Amir arrived early, carrying a thermos of tea and a notebook. He had been helping Ravi carefully examine each item in the previous boxes. The two friends shared a quiet smile, both eager to see the last part of Hari's story. They walked outside to the backyard together. The metal bathtub sat quietly in the corner, its concrete edges now partially broken from their previous work. Inside lay the last wooden box, waiting patiently to share its secrets. The 5th box was slightly smaller than some of the others, but it felt heavy in Ravi's hands. The number on the top was written neatly, in the same elegant handwriting as the others. They brought it inside and placed it on the table. Ravi paused, resting his hands on the smooth wood. He felt a sense of reverence. Opening this box would complete the story Hari had left behind. With careful movements, Ravi unclasped the lid. The metal hinge made a soft sound as it lifted. Inside, they found a bundle of objects wrapped in soft cloth. Ravi removed the cloth carefully. Beneath it were several items, small handcrafted pieces, tiny objects made of wood and paper, and another letter resting on top. The letter was folded neatly, tied with a faded ribbon. Ravi untied it and opened it slowly. The letter was different from the others. It was written with a sense of closure and reflection. Hari wrote that this box contained the most personal items he had created. He wanted anyone who found them to understand that these objects were not just toys or letters, but pieces of his heart and dreams. He spoke about his hopes for the future, his wish that kindness and creativity would continue even after he was gone. Ravi read the words aloud softly. Amir listened, nodding in silence. The letter described how Hari had spent years planning these objects. Some were for children to play with. Some were reminders of important lessons in life. And some were meant to inspire hope. Hari explained that he had buried the boxes so that, one day, someone would find them and feel a connection to the care and imagination he had invested in them. After reading the letter, Ravi and Amir examined the objects in the box. There was a small wooden chest with tiny compartments. Each compartment contained miniature items carved with extraordinary detail. There were tiny fruits, small tools, miniature books, and little animals. Each piece was polished and smooth, crafted with precision. Ravi lifted a tiny wooden apple and felt the gentle curves. He realized that Hari had wanted every small detail to bring a sense of wonder and joy. Next, they found a small wooden stage. It had tiny figures attached to it, depicting a small story of community and friendship. There were children playing, animals nearby, and adults interacting in gentle ways. Ravi could see the care in every figure, every placement. Amir said that Hari had captured not only objects, but emotions and relationships. Each piece told a story that could inspire anyone who looked at it. Beneath the stage, they found a bundle of letters tied together. These letters were more personal than the first sets. Hari had written about his feelings, his reflections, and the lessons he had learned in life. He spoke about patience, empathy, and the importance of creativity. He wrote that even in small acts of kindness, people could leave a lasting impact. Ravi and Amir read each letter carefully, feeling the warmth and wisdom Hari had shared. The last item in the box was a small wooden model of a house. It was detailed with carved windows, doors, and tiny furniture inside. Ravi realized that it was a miniature version of the home he was now living in. Amir pointed out the tiny garden carved beside the house. Ravi noticed the little trees, bushes, and even a path leading from the front door. It was clear that Hari had imagined a perfect home filled with care and love. Ravi felt a deep sense of connection to Hari through this miniature creation. Ravi looked at Amir and said softly that Hari's life had been full of thoughtfulness. Every object, every letter, every carving was a piece of someone's heart. Amir nodded. He said that they could never fully understand Hari's life, but they could honor it by appreciating and sharing the treasures. Ravi agreed. He felt that this discovery was more than just objects. It was a lesson in living with intention and kindness. After examining everything in the final box, Ravi and Amir carefully arranged all the objects from the bathtub in the living room. The space now felt like a small museum of creativity and love. The letters, wooden toys, carvings, sketches, photographs, and miniature models were displayed with care. Ravi realized that the backyard discovery had become a part of his life in a way he had never imagined. As the day progressed, neighbors and friends came to see the collection. Ravi explained that these items were discovered buried in the backyard of his house. Everyone admired the craftsmanship and the thoughtfulness behind the objects. Children were drawn to the wooden toys, while adults were captivated by the letters and sketches. Amir helped explain the story behind each box, sharing Hari's message of hope, patience, and kindness. Ravi felt a sense of fulfillment. He understood that Hari had left these treasures not for fame or recognition, but to inspire future generations. The objects carried lessons about creativity, empathy, and the joy of simple moments. Ravi realized that the discovery was not just about finding hidden boxes, but about understanding a life lived with care and purpose. That evening, Ravi sat in his chair, surrounded by the treasures he had uncovered. He picked up one of Hari's letters and read it again. The words spoke of hope, the importance of kindness, and the beauty of creating things with love. Ravi felt that he had learned something very important. He realized that even small actions, if done with thoughtfulness and care, could leave a lasting impact on the world. Amir sat beside him, quietly examining a wooden toy. He said that discovering these objects had changed his view of life. Ravi agreed. They both felt that Hari's story was more than history. It was a living lesson. Every time they looked at the letters, toys, or carvings, they would remember the message Hari had left behind. Ravi decided to create a safe display for the treasures. He wanted the items to be preserved and appreciated. He set up shelves and carefully placed each object, making sure it was visible and protected. The letters were kept in gentle wraps, the toys and carvings on soft cloths, and the miniature house and stage on the table where sunlight could highlight the details. He felt that the collection deserved care and respect. Over the next few days, Ravi invited more people to see the treasures. Friends, neighbors, and even distant relatives were amazed by the level of thought and creativity. Children played with the wooden toys, learning patience and imagination. Adults read the letters and sketches, feeling inspired by the calm and positive message Hari had left. Ravi realized that the buried bathtub had hidden a gift for many generations. It's not just for him. One afternoon, Ravi and Amir sat quietly in the room, reflecting on their journey. Ravi said that discovering Hari's story had taught him that life was not just about possessions or achievements, but about the impact one could have on others through love and care. Amir nodded. He said that even though Hari was no longer alive, his presence was felt strongly through the objects he had left behind. Ravi smiled, thinking of Hari's hope. The man had imagined a future where someone would find his work and feel joy. That hope had come true. Ravi felt grateful for having been chosen by chance to uncover these treasures. He understood that the discovery was not only a privilege but a responsibility. He would honor Hari by sharing the story, preserving the objects, and carrying the lessons forward. As the sun set, Ravi walked to the backyard. The bathtub, now mostly empty, rested quietly in the corner. It had served its purpose. The concrete and earth that had hidden the treasures were no longer barriers, but memories of patience and care. Ravi looked at the soil and smiled. Somewhere, Hari's heart had rested in these objects, and now it had found a new life in the hands of people who appreciated it. Ravi returned inside and sat among the treasures. He held a wooden carving in his hand and thought about the gentle life Hari had lived. He felt inspired to create, to care, and to share. He realized that the true treasure was not just the objects, but the message and love behind them. Hari's story had become part of his own life, guiding him toward kindness, creativity, and patience. By nightfall, Ravi felt a deep sense of peace. The journey that began with a shovel hitting concrete in the backyard had led to the discovery of a lifetime. The letters, toys, carvings, sketches, photographs, and miniature creations had all told the story of a man who valued life's simple joys and hoped to leave a lasting impression on the future. Ravi knew that this story would live on in the hearts of everyone who saw it, as he turned off the lights and prepared for bed. Ravi looked around the room one last time. The treasures rested quietly on the shelves and table, each item a piece of Hari's heart. Ravi whispered a quiet thank you, feeling grateful for the unexpected gift.